Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to BSKIT Automobilista 2 Formula 1 League. Here today at Spa. We have Donut with us as a co-commentator, and we are expecting 60 minutes of hot lapping with 8 cars.
It's looking to be something like that, unfortunately. Yeah, we've had a few people not being able to join just due to illness, unfortunately. So get better soon to all those who are not here today. But for those who are here, we currently have 8 people for 60 minutes of Spa, which can only go well.
I mean, it should go well. I think we will see a very spread out race. A few people probably bombing out at some point already on Rouge.
Yeah, it's always going to be a difficult track to get completely right, especially in these cars. I mean, this track can be very fun in F1 cars. There's just the amount of grip and downforce you get in these things is just insane. And around Spa, which is obviously a lot of very high-speed corners, it's a very fun track. One that in F1 cars can be fairly difficult to overtake around, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out for our drivers. But hopefully an interesting race nonetheless, even with the lower numbers that we see today.
Yes, in fact, the lower numbers I think will be an issue because Spa is, even though the lap time is pretty fast in those cars with, I think Finn said a low 141 or a high 140 we should expect in quali. So the lap time is not that long, but the track is itself, like lengthwise it is. The actual miles you have to put in there are kilometers because we're in Europe. So, yeah, we're gonna have to see about that.
So, looking at our drivers currently, it's hard to say who's on quali pace and race pace at the moment. Obviously, a few of our drivers, we've got Finn currently in the lead with a 1:42. From what we hear, the quickest times at least in qualifying are going to be looking at hopefully some low 41s and possibly some high 40s as well, if we can get some, if the drivers can get some good laps going. Currently in P5 is Roonlink, which I was not expecting. Currently, I'm tempted to say he's currently on race trim, possibly sorting out his pressures because it's a nice sunny day at Spa today. So we've got hopefully, possibly a very hot track for the drivers to contend with, which is going to be certainly interesting. But Roonlink currently 1.7 seconds off the pace, at least in practice. Obviously, there's only so much we can do, so much we can theorize as well as to what times. But I'm expecting Roonlink to be quick in quali. He's always been quick, not just in AMS2 in this league, but in our ACC leagues as well.
Yes,
so definitely going to be quick.
Definitely. Ruling is going to be we should definitely watch him. Carlo Spicy Wiener is on the quick side as well, so we'll keep an eye on him.
Currently in the pits.
Yes, he's currently in the pits, and we have the Peter Schweinstar, who's currently on a quali bun, so he won't even participate in today's quali. That's why he's probably not really doing anything right now, because he's not allowed to move, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's currently just sat in the pits. I imagine he's allowed to drive out in quali, drive out in the race, sorry, because he's currently out on track. I say on track. Currently off the side of the track, possibly had a bit of an incident there, but yeah, he's gonna have a quali ban. He can still go out and practice though. About 3 3/4 minutes remaining in that. So hopefully soon we're moving to quali. So the times are looking bit closer. So the top 5 currently within about 7.5 tenths. Obviously, it's hard to say who's currently on race trim, currently on quali trim as we go to Swift 81 here, coming down to Eau Rouge. As we say, it's such a fast corner in these cars. You can take so much speed through there. Hopefully, as the suspension doesn't complain of you too much.
Yes, true. Yeah, I don't know. We should just wait for the quali now and see what kind of times the guys are going to put on track. I'm very curious to see how it will end up between Roomlink and Finn.
Yeah, I'm suspecting Finn is, or at least with the 142.025 he's currently set, I suspect that is quali trim. From what we've heard from what the fastest laps are going to be, we're expecting sort of, low 40, hopefully low 41s from the quickest guys like Roomlink. So I'm thinking at the moment he is on race trim, being about 1.7 seconds off pace, at least going off what I know. Roomlink is a very, very fast driver. So hopefully we can get see some very quick laps. But we are about 2 minutes away from heading into qualifying. So certainly going to be an interesting session. Even with just 8 people, it's fun to see. It's fun to see just how competitive it can still get.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see about how competitive it will really be. Because I think Room Finn and maybe Spicy Wiener will have way better times than the rest. I think there will be 2 groups, one of 3 and one of 5 in the end.
Yes, as it would probably seem to be. Hopefully we can get some closer battles. Because even with obviously not a lot of people on track, we're hopefully can see a few battles with each other, with some of the drivers, especially early on in the race. Obviously, as the race goes on, people start to spread out. They start to find their groove, which can be really important in these races. Obviously, it's only a sprint race. In endurance races, it can mean even more. A second lost early in the stint can add up over the stint. Especially in these races though, where there's no pit stops. We're not changing tires. We're not doing any of that. So it's just going to be a case of getting into your groove, getting into your rhythm, finding your pace, and not killing your tires, which is easier said than done in these races, really.
Yeah, that's true. And on Spa, you have so many fast sweeping right and left corners that you will eat those tires anyway. So you really have to be very gentle with your braking and turning points. While we see Roomlink putting it into the wall.
That's not gone well. If we head over to Mr. Spicy Wiener, currently out on track. This is the end of practice. It'll be, don't know if he'll be finishing this lap or if he'll be pulling over just to pull back to the pits for qualifying to start. I have just been informed that there is a mandatory stop. So that's my bad. There is a mandatory stop, presumably for changing tyres. I wouldn't think you would need to get fuel for an hour race, but we shall see. It can be interesting to see where if you can take less fuel at the start to then be lighter for the start, but then obviously you might have a longer pit stop where you've got to also take on fuel. It's a balance,
Yes, true. Right. We're watching Carlo, okay? He's going... Is he on a hot lap? Is he improving?
I think he's trying to. I think it's invalid though. He's gone wide in a couple of corners, so he's just finishing this lap. So I imagine the session will automatically forward once he's crossed the line or once he's back in the pits or whatever it is.
So yeah, we're waiting for him. Well, we just passed the second 69. Nice.
Nice. Very professional here.
Yeah, now she's a
And there we
crystal.
go. That is our practice session over. So, going into qualifying, Finn is looking very quick with a 1:42.0. Hopefully, we're going to be seeing RuneLink and a couple others be able to climb their way up into the higher ranks. So, as we start qualifying, 15 minutes of pure hot lap. So, it'll be interesting to see who is going to be going out first. Anyone's going to be who's that coming out? A couple people coming out.
Bull, there we see RuneLink, I think, at the back. Carlo coming out, Fly High.
We've got Fly High coming out first, leading Mr. Diego Esbraga. Apologies if I butchered that. Behind him is Triple L. And then Findict coming up as well, down to the entrance of Eau Rouge. There's no one else currently out on track, possibly just finishing up the setups, trying to get their pressures right. As obviously pressures can be very important to how your car performs. It can, it can mean the difference between the back end being too slidey or the front end not having grip, so you understeer, so you then end up chewing through your tires quicker. So there's a balance to be found.
Definitely. No, let's see. I'm curious to see the kind of content we get now. The claim times were, let's remember it, somewhere between a high 40 and a low 41 for a good quality time. Let's see how people stack up to that. If they just smash it or try to hang on to those kind of numbers, kind of times. With Fly High coming into the last couple of corners to start his first flying lap.
Going to be interesting to see with Diego quite close behind, about a second back, about a second and a bit back. It seems he has dropped off a little bit just to allow a bit more space. Obviously, in these qualifying sessions, it can be good to try and have the slipstream of the car ahead. Obviously, that can help you, especially at a track like Spa with the very long straights and the slipstream. You can gain quite a bit of time on it, but you also don't want to be so close that you catch up to them on your qualifying lap, which can seriously hamper you and seriously slow you down. So
it's true, but you don't want to be too far behind to the car as well. But then you get massive amounts of dirty air, which will just kill your lap as well. So you always need to, like you said, need to find the right balance. You need to be in that position that you can maximize the slipstream and don't get too much dirty air through the corners. Oh, while we see someone going into the barrier there, or what was that?
Looked like possibly Diego, if that was behind. He has dropped off a little bit from Mr. Fly High. He's about 3 seconds back now. So, getting into it, obviously we're still going to wait for our lap times to come out. It does seem Triple L has somehow set a lap time already, which is interesting. Interesting little thing, but interesting to see.
So, by the way, we are on 9 drivers now, so we have David Gossett joining us. So, we maybe get a top 10 together today. Yay! Somebody else joins us for this race.
We get on board with Mr. Gossett coming through, I think Puon that is, it seems to be. Yep, Puon, that's the one. Bit rusty in my track knowledge, unfortunately.
Mate, don't worry. I know about the camel straight and that's about it. Bus stop. This is something I know as well.
Seem to remember before. I don't know if anyone will chat in chat will remember. For those who do know me, anyway. But I seem to remember we were driving in Project Cars 2 at the time. I accidentally called the Mulsanne Strait. Which is a slightly different track. It's a different country, even, unfortunately. But yeah, so we are getting the first few set of laps in with Diego with the 1:44.5, hoping to improve there. Gossett crosses the line with a 42.4, so a good 2 seconds clear of Diego there. That currently puts him P1. Triple O with a 153, that's possibly a slower out lap or something like that, about 11 seconds off the pace, but he's currently looking to be on a quick lap right now. Among the fastest through sector 1, from what I can tell, about maybe 5th fastest or so. So looking at the timings anyway. See if anyone is currently about to cross the line. Someone coming around the final chicane. That is Fly High coming up to set his what is likely his first flying lap with a 150.6. Hopefully he can improve with that. Runelink into the 41s as we see with a 141.6. That's a very nice lap, very quick lap. Carlo as well with a 141.8. Only two tenths between them currently. So our podium is currently decided by just under 8 tenths. So interesting to see how this will develop.
Here we see the aforementioned 41s going in with Finn just putting in the fastest lap of the qualifying as of now with a 41.5 lap. So we'll probably see a bit more of Runelink as well, I think. Now Finn poked the beast, and we'll see. I think within the next 2 or 3 laps we'll see some banging up of Runelink.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's on a quicker lap here. We'll wait for the split time and see if see what it says. I think he's down on this lap, unfortunately, about half a second down. We'll see if he can have a godly final sector. Actually, I don't know what the DRS zones are on this track, or if we are using DRS in this race. I imagine it would be at the top of Eau Rouge to end of Kemmel, since Blanchimont is probably a bit risky to go through Eau Rouge as Runelink heads into the pits.
We're definitely using DRS and ERS, but for viewers who don't know AMS2, AMS2 is a bit like the old Project Cars 2 in that regard, probably because it's the same engine. They do not have an overtake button or manual ERS management, so ERS is activated by throttle, and so we are running with everything, but the drivers don't have control over the ERS.
Swift there, just setting a 42.8, currently 1.3 seconds off the pace. So our top half of the race is currently within a second or so. With P1 through 4, Triple L about 1.2 seconds off pole with a 142.7. Hopefully he can improve on that as well. We'll see someone coming into sector 3, if I can find who that is. If I don't butcher the camera work. There we go.
Yeah, it's Findic, and I see in chat nearly, yes, the DRS is manually controlled. So DRS manually and ERS is automatic.
That looked a bit wide through the final corner there. Possibly Finn's trying to get a better exit out the final corner to now be on his hot lap.
Yes, indeed. So let's see what's he gonna do this time around, coming through Rouge Radillion complex corners. Let's see those cars planted through there. Having a little bit of a wiggle there, but I think it was just the surface being uneven. Coming down Camden Straight now into a big braking zone. Let's see how we put that right on the apex. Very good. Drifted a little bit wide there, couldn't hug the inside, I think Essie won it.
Yeah, it's such a difficult corner to get right, that really. It's it's difficult to get right because you don't want to go out too wide on the exit, because that then compromises your run through the next corner, which then obviously is after that is the run up to Pouon, obviously a very high speed corner where I think in these cars I imagine it's just a dab of the brakes, tip the car in, and get straight back on the throttle. He's currently equal with his lap, so if he can have a much better last sector, he will be improving on that 41.5, which currently has him on pole. Roonlink about at 10, only 12 hundredths behind, so 1.2 tenths rather. So we'll see if Finn is going to improve here as he comes through the bus stop, hooking up the apex quite nicely, trying to get on the power as soon as you can. Cut back end squirming on the throttle, and that is unfortunately not an improvement. Only 400ths off that. So that's still technically a pole lap, but not quite as quick as you might have liked.
No, on the exit on the last corner in the best chicane, you see how he was just struggling to get grip on the rear tires. That cost him a bit of time.
So heading on board with Diego, currently in P8, hopefully looking to improve his position. About 3 seconds off pole, currently over 140. In fact, exactly 3 seconds off pole. At least, well, 3 seconds and a hundredth. Hopefully looking to improve that time to move his way up the grid. And that is better, 7 tenths quicker, so he's now 2.3 seconds, but not quite quick enough to move him up a position on the grid, unfortunately. Ryan, obviously, in the pits with a quali ban. I forget the exact reason for, unfortunately.
For being Ryan, probably. He did something.
Probably.
You know he did something the last race.
Pretty standard. So coming into bus stop, then we've got both Carlo and I'm not sure who that is. I think that is Roonlink just ahead. Going over the line, Roonlink stays P2. Carlo also, that is a new fastest lap there, 141.3 from Carlo. That's a very nice lap. Be interesting to see if anyone can dip into the 40s as Roonlink then goes and takes that back immediately off of him with a 141.2. So our top 3 is currently decided by about a quarter of a second.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, mate.
Sorry, we're a bit rusty at this, it seems. So I've just been informed that Ryan is. Thank you, Fafi, in chat. So Ryan has a quali ban for having a collision with someone while under blue flags. Easily done, unfortunately, as it would seem. As Roonlink heads back out, doing as much as he can to try and hopefully maybe improve that time to extend his lead.
Yes, let's see if he does. The other cars left.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, we have 2 loops like that right now. Because P4 to P... Okay, P4 to P7 is within 1 second of each other, and then we have a bit of a cutoff with Diego Espraga? I don't know. Sorry, Diego. So, let's see if Diego can improve. And we'll have like a race of 2 packs, and hopefully they'll be racing a bit.
But comes into the pits there. We still think he went a little bit wide out of, I forget exactly which corner it was, after Puon. Oh, as we go on board with Finn off, well, I was about to say on the track, off the track rather. Currently about 2.5 tenths off pole. He's currently on a faster lap by about a hundredth and a half. So is improving, possibly not as much as he would like. He's got to find about just over a tenth to gain P2 and almost 3 tenths to gain back P1, as he was there for quite a while. He's very quick in quali as he gets a bit slidey there on the exit as well. Just not quite the ideal line. The weight transfer of the car just not quite happy enough, and he lost a lot of time from there. About over a second lost through there. So it's the margins in these cars are small. very short, very small margin in these cars. Is a very tight line on what you can do, what you can't. As we are about 40 seconds until the end of quali. Looking if Triple L can improve his time as he comes around the bus stop, squirming on the power. Triple L goes about half a second quicker. That's Good improvement from him. About half a second off the pole time from Roonlink in the low 141s, but not quite enough to improve his position, unfortunately, unless he can make something of it in this final lap of quali, which looks to be is going to be everyone's final lap. It seems there's no one coming up to the line. If we get on board with we're on board with Diego. So, that's not gone well either. That looks like possibly just getting it a bit out of shape on the curb. So if we look to Finn, we'll see what his sector times are saying. He's currently 0.3 down on this lap, so he's going to have to pull pull half a second in the final sector, which can be a tall ask, but you know, it's certainly been done before. As he also just retires the car. Yeah, it's very difficult to gain back those 0.3. So looking at our quality times, we have Roonlink in the 41.2s, our fastest driver today. Not quite the fastest in the sector times, which is interesting to see. So that can give you a clue as to what setups everyone is running. So Roonlink might be running a higher downforce setup where he is he's slower through sector 1, which is mostly flat out really. With Findict quickest in sector 1, the 28.1, but overall not quite fast enough as we line up for the grid. 23 laps then of Spa, about 60 minutes of racing ready to go down, so we are going to be on board with Roonlink. At the start, we have Carlo in P2, Mr. Spicy Wiener, Findict in P3, Triple L in P4, David Gossett joining a little bit late in quali, up into P5, so a good showing from him as well, with possibly not as much practice as the other drivers, at least today. Swift 81 in P6, with Fly High down in P7, obviously first one out in quali to gain that clean air advantage, so hopefully he can translate that into the race as well. Diego in P8 with Ryan rounding out our grid, obviously with the quali ban putting him in P9.
Okay, so while we just wait for the race to start, I must have a little bit louder, as that said.
We need the loud and sexy pandas, as it would seem.
I hope that is better. At least
for anyone in chat, if we are cocking up, tell us.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, obviously let us know if we need to adjust any of the volume, any of the settings for the chat, for the stream itself, for any camera angles you want to see, any drivers you want to be watching, any battles that you want to be seeing. Obviously, feel free to put any predictions as well into the chat. We'll obviously Roonlink is known in BSKIT for being a very fast driver, especially with the grid we have today. But also in quali, closely followed by Carlo. As we get ready on the grid, then looking at the lights, we have 5 lights and we are green flag. Then a bit of a slower start that looked from Roonlink. He moves to the inside to go defensive. He's got to be just about gets it around the outside. Looks like Findict possibly moving up into P2 immediately. About 0.3 down, 0.3 then. There doesn't look to be any massive incidents through turn 1 as we head through our usual single file now. But the car's getting a bit out of shape as Finn has to take to the runoff. Possibly with that lower downforce setup, he's side by side going to turn 1. Looks like he's going to be clear by then. But Roonlink's not going to be giving that up easily. He's going to be taking him right up to the line as Finn runs a little bit wide there. And if he can hold on to that lead for the race, that's going to be quite a feat to accomplish there.
Yes, indeed, having some turbulent first couple of corners, but Finn just claiming P1 there, but like you said, Roonlink hard on his heels while Carlo is going wide there through that corner. So, but he was able to hold on while Roonlink is going wide now.
Roonlink's having an absolute nightmare of a time there. It's getting all out of shape through I forget what corner it is. Okay, exactly what corner it is. So Finn currently with a 1.1 second lead, likely hoping he can keep that lead. It's a current 1-2 for Ferrari. Not something we've seen in a while. So Runelink is hoping to gain that back about 2 seconds off the pace, so but that's going to be a difficult gap to gain back even with that pace, because the dirty air in these cars can definitely throw you off. It looks like a couple of our drivers have been thrown off. Moving towards the back of the grid, there's someone off in the background there that looked like Fly High, possibly going a bit wide. Running into turn 1 then, side by side, battle for P8 currently on. So they're getting as good an exit out of there as you can. It's going to be interesting to see if they go too wide for a Rouge. It was a bit of a dangerous move to pull off.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Diego will hang on to Fly High and try to reel in Ryan with him together, because Ryan pulled a bit of a gap now, sticking to the back of Swift there. In the Haas livery, so I think Fly High and Diego are a good here just to work together a bit, while we just saw Fly High barreling into the barriers. Oh no, that was Diego, I think.
And Diego, oh yeah, that's going to be an unfortunate thing. That little bit of lag there, as it would seem.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like a bit of a spotty connection. Moving back to Ryan quickly. He's had a really good start, actually. Obviously started down in P9. He's managed to gain a couple of positions off the start. Possibly people, struggling with the dirty air, especially at the start of these races. It's so difficult to get that balance right. Hopefully looking to hold on to the group ahead, because obviously with the slipstream they can pull away, and from that point you're just sort of sat there, really a sitting duck. There's someone going wide. Is that contact there? That looked like possibly between Runelink on the outside. He's really had not the best start he can ask for, unfortunately, as he drops down to P7 as he immediately darts into the pits, possibly for damage. Get his mandatory stop out of the way as well, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see with the tyres, if he can make them last all the way to the end, at least on good pace, if he can make up that time he lost. So, moving back to the guys at the front then, Findict and Spicy Wiener, both Ferraris, currently at 1-2, 7 seconds clear of the rest of the pack as they're all jostling for position. We've got about P3 through to P6 within about a second of each other, all back there. So, I'm thinking Finn and Carlo will be trying to work together to pull away from that pack, to sit in each other's slipstream, to just pull away, do as best they can. So, moving back then back to this group, Ryan has climbed up to P4 there. He's lost a little bit of time to Swift. Ahead in P3 is that's Triple L going wide there. That looks like possibly getting a little bit argy-bargy at the back there. So if we head onto their onboard, they're going a little bit wide there as well. Fly High taking perhaps a bit much speed. Going around the outside of Triple L there. We have lost a couple people, as it would seem. Possibly from just simple retirements. Obviously people likely having damage right at the start there as well, but we're spreading out a little bit, so we'll hope for some closer battles later on in the race. It'll be interesting to see how Runelink can do. Obviously he's done his pit stop about 57 seconds off the lead right now, but he is sat in perfectly clean air right now. He's currently coming up to about P1 for reference for those in chat, and it'll be interesting to see if he can pull that gap back. He's a very quick guy, so he's now got fresh tires, no damage, perfectly clean air, so he can just sit there doing quali laps basically until he can gain his as Fly High there gets possibly a little bit ambitious with his throttle. It looked like I didn't see if there was contact, unfortunately, with Triple L. Just getting on the throttle perhaps a tad bit early for that corner. That's so easy to do in these cars. They've got over 1,000 horsepower, but weigh under 800 kilos. I seem to remember, if I got that right.
Yes.
So very difficult to do. As Carlo has dropped off down into P3, he's lost about 10 seconds or so. That's interesting. I didn't see if there was an incident there, unfortunately. It looks like he might have had a bit of a tangle with the wall. It looks like he's got damage as there's contact on the outside with Carlo and Ryan. Ryan up into P3. That's a good start from him. Be interesting to see if any damage for him or for other cars is going to be affecting them. But Ryan currently looking on good pace currently. Hopefully not taking anyone out. ideally.
Yeah, that would
But-
be preferable. While we're down to 7 cars now, doing this race on Spa, so we are very spread out for the most of it. We have now here Carlo battling a bit with Triple L, getting overtaken by Triple L, so we may see Carlo with a bit of damage here.
It looks like he
for
might have
left.
damage. Yeah, it looks like he's lost a lot of time to Ryan there, especially through sector two as well. So he possibly got a bit of aero damage. As he dives into the pit lane, get that repaired as quick as you can. Oh, knocking the wall a little bit.
Yeah, 2 times
On the
just
entry.
for good measure.
Certainly interesting. Someone asking in chat the difference between Dirty Air and Slipstream. So Slipstream, obviously, when you're behind someone on a straight, you've got obviously, well, you can be quicker in a straight line because the air is thinner. You're not having to run in that full air, you could say. So you can be quicker in a straight line. But when you've got dirty air, especially going around corners, you simply don't have the air passing over the wings to produce the downforce you need to then take that corner. So that's why in these cars it can be so difficult to follow people closely, especially through high-speed corners like Pouon, where you turn the car in and it just doesn't want to turn. You just don't have the downforce because there's simply not enough air running over the wings. So it can be it's a difficult balance to make as we spread out a little bit for our race. Top 4 currently within about 15 seconds of each other. Finn is currently running away with it. He's going to be over the moon with that currently. Also started P3. A few tenths down on pole from RuneLink. It does seem Finn is pulling away from RuneLink, from what I can tell. He was about 57 seconds ahead of obviously RuneLink has pitted. So it looks like the pit stops are about 40 to 30 seconds or so. It would depend on how quickly you can get it stopped, as he goes a little bit wide there as well. Also getting a little bit cocky, which is not what you want in these races, but
Yes, because now what you mentioned all the time he gained on ruling is gone again. Now we're down to 56 seconds. So Finn does have quite a good gap behind, even with the pit stop, but he really can't allow himself to make any mistakes because ruling is just really fast.
Yeah, he's currently keeping that gap at around the 58-second mark, obviously fluctuating a little bit through sectors. But he's doing what he can, and because Finn knows what he's up against, as it were. As he runs a little bit wide there, possibly. It can be such a difficult thing in these races where that pressure on your mind, knowing that making small mistakes can get you knocked out of your rhythm. And you can just drop back a little bit, and it can be very difficult to make that back because you try to drive faster as he goes a little bit wide there as well. You can try to drive faster to try and make up that lost time, but then in doing so you make more mistakes, so you then try and drive even faster to make up that more lost time, and it's just a vicious cycle that can send you on a visit to Barry R, as Super GT calls him in the barrier. So RuneLink getting past Carlo there as well, right at the back. Both of them obviously having made their pit stops. It's going to be interesting to see if Carlo can overhaul him on the straight. I think RuneLink seems to be running a higher downforce setup. Looking at these split times, at least from going off quali. If we head over to P4, as Carlo goes a little bit wide there, he cuts the corner.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if they have a little bit of beef between them, as it would seem, as he goes a little bit wide there as well. Not sure what's going on with that, or if he just missed his braking point and he gives the position back there as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or maybe letting him pass
Interesting little thing.
with a weird maneuver.
So as we head over to the battle for P3 on the fringes of the podium, Ryan in P3, Triple O in P4 currently. We've got Aston versus McLaren, so the battle of the midfield we've got currently. So it's shaping up just like real F1, really. So it's looking to be a difficult battle. Triple L goes to the right. He looks like he's going to be clear before the end of the corner. He cuts back over Ryan, and he overhauls him on the straight. Not really much Ryan can do about that, as it would seem. Ryan is going to try and keep with him as best as he can.
Yes, indeed. He's really really hanging on. Ryan really wants that third place, but let's see if he can keep up the pressure to who is that in front? To Triple L. Because
Triple L in front.
yeah, because Ryan does tend to crumble. Not really crumble under pressure, but he's too eager. I say it's because he is still a fetus, so he's a very young driver. So he doesn't know how to pick his fights yet. If you see him drive, you know, Ryan got pace, but he doesn't wait for the opportunity. He wants to force the opportunity, and that's why we often see him doing. Sorry that I say it like that on a PG stream, but he does dumb shit.
Yeah, it's something that can come with experience. Really, it's something you learn when you battle other drivers. You can learn. You know, you don't always have to go for the move immediately. That's something, especially new races. Something you see in public lobbies quite a lot of the time. Is that if you leave the gap open for someone, they will take it. You know, they will take that gap. They will take that as an invitation to, get a postage stamp and send it right up the inside. But it's something you learn over time. It's not simply about making moves. Just keeping close to the car ahead can keep pressure on them, because that says to them that if they make a small mistake, then that's that. You know, you are past, and just having that pressure on their mind is something that's very difficult to to deal with, as we seem to have lost Carlo. Unfortunately, we're currently down to 6 drivers. Now, for the next, how many laps is that? That's another 15 laps if my maths is right. At least
about right.
14 finishing this lap, I think.
Yes, where Ryan is
never
up
did well at maths.
nearly 0.4 on his best lap, so he's reeling in Triple L a bit. Who is making good pace as well, though, so don't underestimate Triple L here. But
yeah, it seems to be picking up his pace a bit.
Yeah, but we see Ryan inching closer. It always gets so close when you both brake for bus stop. I forgot how this is called. Is this the Coriolis effect or something? Anyway, what you were saying with him being with putting pressure on drivers, and that's also where we can hook back into the topic we had before, and that's where the balance between dirty air and using slipstreams comes into play as well, because you need to stay close to him to put on the pressure, but you also need to stay in that green zone, in that slipstream zone, just to be able to make a move if he does a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. So moving to the guy, Mr. Swift 81, currently in P2. About 10 seconds off Finn. He's been able to keep that pace through a lot of this race so far. So he's putting in the times. He's not, it's a similar sort of thing where you may not necessarily be catching the car ahead, but you're still putting that pressure on them. So Finn will know that if he makes a mistake, if he spins out, something like that, that can easily be a 10-second loss. And Swift can be right on him, especially when you have DRS, especially when you're able to make those moves. You can get close enough to put pressure on someone to force them into a mistake, to get them to do that. So Swift obviously doing it as much as he can. I forget exactly where he started, unfortunately. As we've got a spinner in the background that looked like Ryan, I think it was. Yeah, it was.
Yes,
possibly getting
right.
a bit eager on the throttle. Which again, that can come down to that pressure. You want to push hard to overtake the car ahead. So you try and get on the throttle that little bit earlier to get a better exit. But no cigar, as it were.
Yeah.
In this case, so now Ryan can be vulnerable to fly high, about 3 and a bit seconds behind him currently, and gaining, it would seem, or currently pulling away. I think Ryan's running lower downforce. But if Fly High can get close, there he is in the background there. If he can get close to him, then that can be a big battle that we will have on our hands.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying. I think, like you said, Ryan got a bit eager on the throttle there because he was so close to Triple L. And he was feeling it like, okay, I want to get past him now. He maybe thought he's holding me up and got a bit too eager, spun out, and now all of a sudden he has to bury from behind because there's Fly High all of a sudden who wants that P4 from Ryan.
So just moving to what we've got in chat, not a ton of action on track right now, unfortunately. A bit of a quiet track, it would seem. But yeah, the level of detail in this game, obviously Automobilista 2, sorry, with the marbles on the side, where the rubber flicks off the tires as it wears away, especially through those high-speed corners like Pouon, where you're putting so much force into those tires, especially your outside, as Ryan moves to the pit lane there, possibly cutting the corner a little bit to make as efficient a stop as possible. But yeah, you want to, so as he moves into the pits, it's going to be interesting to see if he can get his marks done right as well, as he looks to have got that pretty much there. So that's a nice stop from him. So moving back to our leader, Finn Dix, lapping in the low 44s, it would seem, currently. So he's putting in good pace, putting in that consistent pace. It can be easy to get cocky when you're out in front, to think that you can deal with a few mistakes, but then you start making a lot of mistakes as well, and that's when you realize that you're vulnerable to the car behind, and that's something again that comes with experience. Something you can master. You get to that point where you're not thinking, I need to be going quick, but you're also not having to push too hard. At least push too hard to the point where you're making a lot of mistakes. And hopefully not binning it, as some would say. But Finn does seem to be pulling away from Swift just a little bit, a few tenths every lap. Gap currently up to about 11 seconds. It drops a little bit through some of the slower corners. It's kind of hard to say with the bigger gaps. But Finn currently just doing his laps, keeping his pace, keeping how would you say?
Keeping his cool, keeping his head down.
Keeping his head down, that's the one. As Swift goes into the pits there. Possibly for a tyre change right about the halfway mark through the race. So I'd be expecting Finn to come in soon, unless he's looking to do the entire race on this set of tyres, which will be interesting. It does seem Runelink is trying to catch back up a little bit. Obviously lost a little bit time with Carlo earlier in the race. Looked like they possibly had a bit of a collision. So it'll be interesting to see what the stewards say about that. That'll be something for after the race, obviously. There's no live stewarding in this event, unfortunately, but we will still have the hand of the gods, as it were. Getting those steward reports in. So Triple L is currently the closest to Finn. Obviously, he's not yet pitted. So Swift, Ryan, and Runelink have all pitted so far. Fly High, I don't believe has, not from what I've seen anyway. Triple L about 15 seconds back and trying to close that gap a bit, trying to gain on to the back of him. It's a big gap to build up, especially if you're looking on the map. Looking on the map, it's a big gap. It's a massive gap to try and pull back. So
we are halfway through now. So yeah, Finstisso with 6 drivers on track and some good gaps, we can lean back now and watch Finn hot lapping and being curious where Runelink actually will end up when Finn did his pit stop.
Yeah, it seems the time loss looks to be about it's kind of hard to say, really. I think I want to say it's about 30 to 40 seconds or so, at least overall, because it's obviously not just the time you spend, stopped in your box, like changing tires, putting in fuel, and that kind of thing. There's a little spit of flame there from the back of the exhaust I just saw. It's also the travel time, and I know in AMS2 it's a bit of a shorter pit lane in some games, especially games like Assetto Corsa, Competizione. The pit lane is huge. It spans the entire length of the straight down to Eau Rouge, and it's a big time loss. But that's a time loss everyone has to deal with, and it's whoever can make use of that time loss the best will reap the rewards of it. So looking back to P3, we've got Swift currently coming up to the back of Triple L, who looks to have pitted about 30 seconds back now. So Swift is going to be trying to close that gap. It's about just under a 2-second gap right now, 1.8, 1.9 seconds. So
yes,
hoping to be closing that gap up with the tyres that he now has, but obviously Triple L has just pitted as well. So Finn is from what I can tell, the last car to have not pitted, unless Triple L hasn't pitted and he made a small mistake, in which case Finn is extending his lead now up to a 32-second lead now. It's just really, really good drive from him so far. Just keeping his cool, keeping on the track. That's the main thing, really. Even with a smaller grid, we're seeing tempers flare with a bit of contact here and there, a bit of argy-bargy for position, as we see Ryan in the back there as well, just about 8 seconds behind. Be interesting to see how he does. He had a really good start, and he's had decent pace through the race. Currently running his fastest lap currently at a 43.9, so dipping into the 43s as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what will be made of the rest of this race.
Yes, very well, coming down to the come straight at the end of it through the chicane into that fast right-hander, at least fast right-hander in Formula 1 cars. The gap stays pretty consistent between those two, so you may bring up the timetable again to see what kind of sector times those two are doing and how they compare.
Yeah, it can be interesting to look at sector times because, as we said earlier, it can tell you a lot about how the person, how that guy is driving, how that person's driving. What setup they're using. So we saw earlier in quali that, for example, Roonlink seems to be running a higher downforce setup. At least for qualifying. Obviously, the setups could be different now. So it can all be a guessing game in these races. And we look at the sector times just through sector 1, for example, where Finn is currently going through sector 1. Sorry, so Triple L and Roonlink and Ryan all in the 28s for sector 1, with Swift and Fly High current in the low 29s. So that can tell you, for example, that Swift and Fly High might be running higher downforce. So they may lose that time they may lose that time on the straights, but obviously Spa being a very high downforce setup, high downforce track, lots of high speed corners, it can be difficult to make that time back up. As we see then, Finn looks to have pitted his last lap at 2:04. That sounds like an outlap to me. So yes. He's going to be on fresh rubber. He is the last to change his tyres, so he's going to have the lightest car with the freshest tyres towards the end. It'll be interesting to see if Roonlink will be able to keep his tyres going till the end, obviously coming in right at the end of lap, I think it was lap 1 or 2, I forget exactly which one.
I think it was lap 2. So,
coming in very early either way.
I think this is now Finn being in a prime position to also take the lead of the championship.
I believe so. I know that I believe Finn and Roonlink are quite close in the points, so this will be Finn will be rejoicing currently as we have about as we cross the line, about 8 laps to go after this corner now. So 8 laps to go from about now. So another I can't remember how much time that'll be. About another sort of 12 minutes or so of racing. So thank you to those who have tuned into today's race. Obviously a bit of a quieter race today for round 5 of the BSKIT Formula Ultimate League on AMS2 with current domination, as it would seem from Finn. It looks like Triple L behind is catching up a little bit, just keeping that gap at about 13 seconds. Finn is going to be looking to extend that gap as much as he can to get as comfortable a gap as he can as well. With RuneLink dipping into the 49s now, as in about 49 seconds behind the leader currently, about 13 seconds to fly high. It'll be interesting to see what his pace is going to be like towards the end of the race.
Yes, you're right. I just checked, and yes, going off the positions the drivers are currently in, we will have Finn move into P1 for the Drivers' Championship if he wins this race. And after that, we have only 3 races left. So he's in a prime position to take the championship.
Yeah, I think RuneLink's going to be kicking himself a bit, as it would seem.
Yeah.
Certainly going to be kicking himself a bit. Really not the start he would have wanted. Had a really, really unfortunate first couple laps where he just had a little bit of contact here and there with a couple drivers, possibly getting upset by the dirty air. As he had a good start. He had a good start at the obviously on lap 1, turn 1. As Finn sets what looks to be possibly the fastest lap of the race there, 42.9, as fast as I've seen anyway. That's fresh tyres for you as well, so he's really going to be rocketing away from the group right now. So he's looking comfortable for the lead. But as we've seen in especially recent races, if anyone in chat caught the 12 Hours of Barcelona or Catalonia, sorry, on ACC, it's only the last few laps can decide the win, really. And you can never tell what's going to happen. Everything's going to be unpredictable. You can never tell what's going to happen, and be interesting to see if we have any more battles toward the end as well. Hopefully Swift can catch back up to Triple L, about a 3-second gap to him now. We head over to his car. It's about a 3-second gap to him. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull that out. I think Triple L has pulled about a second in the last few laps or so. So he's making the most of his tyres. Obviously, I think Swift possibly. I think he pitted about a lap later, so we've got a lap newer tyres, which may help him towards the end. We simply don't know, but it's interesting to see how it will turn out at the end.
Hopefully, pretty good. Like the gap stayed pretty consistent, so I'm curious to see how, if Triple L will be managing to increase his pace to increase that gap as well a bit, because I think with only about 6 to 5 laps laps left now in the race, having just the 3-second gaps to the car behind is not comfortable right now for Triple L. He will have a good look into his mirrors coming down the Camel Straight to see how far that really is for him right now, because I don't think Swift is pushing right now. I think he's conserving a bit, actually.
Yeah, possibly trying to keep his tyres for the end of the race, because if Triple L can wear through his too quickly, then he will perhaps be vulnerable at the end. And that'd be interesting to see with RuneLink as well, as he's trying to catch Fly High about 17 seconds currently. It's a big gap to try and make up in 5 laps, especially with the margins that we're seeing in the lap times. Everyone sort of running in the mid 44s, apart from a couple. Ryan dipping into the 43s, and Finn with the mid 42 as well on his last lap. That's fastest lap I've seen. I believe that is the fastest lap of the race so far. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that pace up, especially with the tyres starting to go off. It can be a difficult thing to do, but you keep pushing. You know, you don't give up in these races, especially it can be especially hard when you're. Especially for being in Runelink's position, for example, where you're long, you know, you're quite a way off the back, and even if you can be quicker, you don't want to push too hard. You know, you don't want to kill your tires, you don't want to crash yourself out, because it's better to finish last than to retire.
Oh, definitely.
At least in this case, you'll still be getting some points, at least with the smaller grid.
Yes, true. Like right from the beginning, you should have just, if you have massive damage, just repair it. The grid was just 9 cars, so you were in the points no matter what, and points are always what you're looking for in those races. Everybody who's gone should have just stuck around, I think. Except, I think it was Diego, was it? Because that internet connection didn't look very good.
Yeah, that looked like internet troubles. Unfortunately, it's something you can't really control in these races. It seems your internet works perfectly fine until you're racing, yeah. which is often the case. Unfortunately, it's pretty typical, really. As Triple L also dipped into the 43s with a 976. Finn currently running in the low 43s with a 486 on his last lap. So really pushing hard, pushing hard to increase that gap, make it as big as he can. So if he does make a mistake, he's as good as he can get, as comfortable as he can be. But he's if you ask me, he's looking pretty comfortable to me. As it would seem.
Oh yes. Looking at the gaps, we may have a done deal on our hands right now. I'm still hoping for Swift to get a bit more on that pace, because he's on pace with Triple Air right now. So the last laps is what, 100th? Nearly, not even, so like, what is that, thousands, hundreds, and tenths, 1,000, so 4,000 of a second.
About as close as they get in these races.
Yeah, so, oh, and there we go, Swift in P2 now, while Triple R made a massive mistake, and now is under fire of Ryan.
It's going to be difficult for Ryan to hold that round the outside, but it looks like he is going to pull it off. Triple L possibly with damage there. I think he made the same mistake in, I think it was qualifying on his final lap, just before, right at the end of the session. Just possibly got on the power a little bit too early, or if it unsettles the car over the curb, it just doesn't want to turn. It just doesn't want to do as it's told, really. So Ryan's going to be over the moon. Triple L's going to be kicking himself onto that P2 down to P4 within about 3 corners.
Yeah,
so, especially with the gaps we're seeing, that's a big time loss. It lost about 16-ish seconds, sort of 14, 15 or so. Sorry.
Yes, of course, those seconds accumulate. First you spin around and then you get bullied by an Aston Martin in the form of Ryan. You're bound to miss some time there.
Oh, of course. There's a force field of losing time, and as he pulls into the pits, that looks like he's got pretty big damage, as that's going to be his second stop. I'd probably, to be honest, I'd almost advise going to the end in this case, because we're near the end of the race now. We're about 3.5 laps to go, roughly. If we go over to where Finn is currently, just a start of sector 2. Sorry. Currently, by quite some margin, the fastest man on track, with a rather comfortable lead of 23 seconds currently, with less than 3 laps to go. So he's really just pushing the limits, you know, finding the limit of the car and driving just below it, just so you don't push the car too much. just so you aren't risking too much, because especially when you're out in front, it can be easy to get cocky and to end up making a lot of mistakes. But you keep going, you keep going, you keep conscious of how you're driving. You don't want to push the car too much, otherwise you will end up making mistakes, and then you get less and less comfortable as the gap behind comes down and down and down. But I think in this case, Finn is pretty comfortable lapping in the 40, consistently in the 43, so he's by quite some margin the fastest man on track. As we quickly pan over to Runelink, who is down up into P5 past Triple L as he comes out the pits. It's going to be an interesting battle here. I would reckon. I think Triple L has just repaired his damage, but he's also, I don't know if he's possibly taken fresh tyres as well. I know Runelink is on now about 20 lap old tyres, so he will be struggling on those.
Oh yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if Triple L can catch back up and have a little battle towards the end.
Yes, that would be interesting to see, but it seems like Runelink really looked after his tires. At least from the outside, he doesn't seem to be struggling that much. So we might see not a deciding fight here. And I don't know if there's any team orders between the two McLarens here.
Interesting to see any team orders. It might be the case where Triple L lets Runelink take the position to get just that little bit more points for the constructors. That little bit more points for the constructors and for the championship as well. Interesting to try and have that McLaren up in the top championship position, as this race has definitely not gone how Runelink might have wanted it to go. Especially with that start, a very unlucky start from him as well, where he just dropped off the pace a tad bit, and he just got swallowed up by the group behind. And when you're in that position, there's not a lot you can really do, unfortunately.
Oh yes. Well, once the pack gets you and swallows you, it was the right decision to just immediately dive into the pits, to be honest. But because he would have just lose more time to that, but now he had to deal with old tires for half of the race, which shows.
Yeah, exactly that. So if we quickly pan over to Finn, currently on the final lap now, we're coming up to P1. A very comfortable lead of almost 26 seconds. That is race domination. If you've not seen it before, really good race from him. Really strong pace, just keeping it clean, keeping his cool, keeping it on the track, at least mostly. So he just needs to bring it home now for a convincing victory over Swift. Currently in P2, Ryan currently in P3. It'd be interesting to see if Ryan can overhaul him, about 5 seconds to him currently. He's been catching for the last couple laps, but it's going to be quite an ask to pull 5 seconds in the last couple laps also. But anything can happen in these races, as we saw with Triple L earlier, where he dropped from P2 down to all the way down into P6 now, which is really unfortunate for him. Really unfortunate race he's had, as Finn crosses the line P1. Really strong race from him.
Yes.
Really good pace. So really good pace. Congratulations to Mr. Findict for a convincing victory. As he crosses the line, we cross back to Swift coming through the final corner. I'm sure happy to take P2. That's been a good race from him. He started from what I remember, the bottom half of the race, but he's really brought it home into P2 as he slows down on the line to as Ryan takes P3 there as well. Going back to Fly High, coming back into the final corner. Good race from him. Good, just keeping it clean. Keeping it clean. Hopefully in later races, hit a stronger pace. He can find some stronger pace to keep up with the guys at the front. We've got some really quick drivers in this league. As we finally go to our last two finishes in P5 and P6. Mr. Runelink into P5. I'm sure not expecting.
Yeah, which a bit of a shocker, really.
Yeah, not expecting. Obviously, with the start he had, there wasn't going to be a lot he was able to do. Triple O, unfortunately, not quite able to make use of the possibly fresher tyres. But that is our race. So that is round 5 of the BSKIT Formula Ultimate League, done and dusted with the fastest lap of the race set by Mr. Findix, 42.6, ahead of Runelink with a 42.8 as well. Bit of a penalty there as well for Ryan, which is going to drop him behind Fly High. So Fly High has gone into P3 as well for that.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's a really nice finish. We're possibly able to get Findix in for an interview.
Yes, we
Get him in for an interview as well. Obviously, not the finish he may have been expecting, at least at first. But really strong race from him to see him climbing up from I think it was P3. He qualified about quarter second off the pace. But then obviously with the start that Runelink had, it was just a bit of an unfortunate thing, really. So here we have our race winner, Findix, with the fastest lap as well. So how do you feel, Finn? That's a convincing victory with a 28-second gap at the line that's set and just dominating pace, really, over any challenges that may have come near. But how did the race go for you?
Well, I can't say it was anything other than good. No mistakes, no track cuts or anything. Only at the start where I went a little bit off track to avoid a collision with Runelink Upper Rouge, but that's about it. It went pretty well. It was just a case of managing the tires. I started on softs, and the plan was to go 12 laps, and after 12 laps I realized they're actually quite fine, and I have a lot of time behind me, so I decided to stretch them as much as I could. And when I locked up the front right twice in a row, decided it was time to come in. And since then, I just did 2 shots for fastest lap, and then I just brought it home.
Yeah, it's been really good pace from you today as well. Just banging in those laps, obviously with the fastest lap as well, 42.661 out of anyone. Quicker than Runelink as well with the 42.8. Obviously, Runelink being a very fast driver, as we've seen in past races as well. But with the unfortunate start he had, he seemed to get not quite a good run up Rouge, possibly running a higher downforce setup as well. From what we saw in qualifying, where the sector time showed that you were among the quickest through sector 1, so possibly running lower downforce. So, but it seems to have paid off for you in this race.
Yeah, I'll let you in on a secret. I was running 25 rear, 24 front. Means nothing to you, maybe, but people in the league that hear that will be quite shocked. That is really low downforce. I know that Runelink, for comparison, was running 38, and the max is 48. So I was running very low, specifically for Camel. The plan was always to get ahead in sector 1 and try to run away as much as I could. I still had decent pace, had the setup quite well down, so I was quite confident for this race as well. And in practice, I kind of saw that the pace was good. In qualifying, it didn't quite manage to get it. I feel like this setup is slightly slower in quali, but I decided to stick with it. And it paid off, all the work that I put in the last week.
Very good. Congratulations on that one.
And I can pull Swift in now for an interview if you want. Because he finished.
Indeed, you can. A surprise showing from him as well. Really, it's really good finish from Swift as well. Currently up into P2 right at the end, with Ryan unfortunately losing P3 as well to Fly High with his penalty. We have Swift here for an interview, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. I'm here.
Up into P2. I forget exactly where you qualified, unfortunately. I know you were outside the podium with Runelink taking pole. Not the race he was expecting, but potentially not the finish you were expecting either. Up into P2, so that's going to be good points for the championship. So how did the race go for you overall?
Yeah, my hands hurt like hell, but it's I didn't expect this, so it was really good for me. And also Reload couldn't join, so we need like double points. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been it was a strong pace from you as well. Obviously not necessarily setting the fastest laps of the race, but just keeping consistent, keeping your nose clean, and that can be almost more important really in these races, because it's all well and good if you can do 42 race pace, but if you're not able to do that consistently and you keep crashing, then it's not much use in it, is it? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was also a luck on the start because there was some crash around me and I wasn't involved at the end. So
Yeah, you just managed to keep your nose clean. Keep your nose clean and finish up in P2. So that's good points for the championship. Congratulations to you and to everyone else as well with their positions. So thank you very much, Swift.
thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
So thank you to those who are still tuned into the stream. Obviously a bit of a quieter race today with people off with illness, unfortunately. So get well soon to those who are not here today. Any finishing words, Panderz, for you?
No, not really. Just want to say you thank you for being here with me, or I were here with you. How you were going at it today. And thanks everybody for watching, and congratulations to Finn Swift, Fly High for the podiums, and the other drivers for some decent performances and their points.
Yeah, thank you very much for putting up with me. Obviously, a bit short notice with the commentary box today, but that's all behind the scenes, so that's all good. But yeah, a fun race, fun commentary, and thank you for being here with me as well. So for those in the stream, tune in next time for round 6. I forget exactly where it is, unfortunately, but tune in next. Silverstone. That's going to be an interesting race to watch in the F1 cars. Obviously, similar to Spa, really. Lots of high speed corners. But tune in next time. I forget exactly when. I think in about a month or so. Tune in next time for that race, and we will see you then.
Yes, see you then. Bye bye, everybody. Have a good rest of the weekend and a nice night. Bye bye.